On today's show, are there any moves left for the Dallas Mavericks to make this offseason? We'll talk about some trade ideas with the Utah Jazz. And then Jason Kidd said that Spencer Dinwiddie and JaVale McGee are both going to start. But does the starting lineup even matter? We'll talk about all that and more on today's Locked On Mavs.
I'm Luka Doncic, and this is Locked On Mavericks podcast.
Hey, Dallas Mavericks are NBA champions. Bang! Bang! It's good!
And the Mavericks have won the game!
If you don't believe, you shouldn't be here.
Welcome. You are locked on to the Dallas Mavericks. My name is Nick Angstadt, media member and NBA channel manager for the Locked On Podcast Network. Thanks for making Locked On Mavs your first listen every day. We are free and available on all platforms, including YouTube. But the best way you can help us grow the show is to comment anything below. Let us know below. What move do you think is next for the Dallas Mavericks? They just sign somebody for the 15th spot? Do they make a trade? They do something else? Are they getting in on the KD drama saga, all that? Let us know what you think in the comment section below. And joining me, as always, my co-host, contributor, writer at Mavs.com, the Summer League legend, the One More Thing King. What you got for me, Isaac Harris?
I'm trying to figure out what to do with these Summer League games. Like, should I just record them all, and then once Summer League's over and we're just like trying to find a fix of NBA, just like play these games? Because there's a portion of it that's a lot of fun. Another portion of it, it's like, this is the worst basketball I've ever seen in my entire life. But it was so cruel that we got this Mavs game. We got this great Hardy performance and Lawson performance. It was a lot of fun. We're riding the high, and they're like, hey, you're basically not going to play for like, I don't know, 2.5 days again. And here we are. But tonight, 9 o'clock Central Time, Mavs.
And then there's going to be a back-to-back, which is nice, too. Two Mavs games in a row. Two Summer League games in a row. The Hardy Party returns for Summer League. We'll talk about that. We'll have breakdowns of both of those games tonight. Isaac's doing like a live stream on Mavs.com. A Manning cast, if you will.
Not tonight. It will be on Tuesday night and Thursday night.
Okay.
So we're going to be streaming it live, an alternate broadcast. So you can actually like watch the game with us through Mavs.com. Bobby, myself, Austin. We're streaming it from the arena, so we'll see.
You're not going to be there, though, right? Or you're from the AAC?
Yeah, from the AAC. Yeah.
Nice.
Should be a lot of fun. I could be wrong. Check Bobby's tweet, but I think you might have to be in Dallas to see it. I could be wrong.
I think he said 75 miles from Dallas.
Oh, it's a good little radius.
That's a good range.
Sorry.
It's a good range. Yeah, sorry, everybody.
To our listeners in Slovenia.
Sorry, everybody else. All right, on today's show, we're going to get into if the Mavericks have any moves left. Isaac's got a bunch of ideas to trade with the Utah Jazz, who seem to be kind of blowing it up, taking trade offers on Donovan Mitchell and such. So could the Mavericks get in on any of their other players? And then Jason Kidd had an interesting comment over the weekend. Does the starting lineup even matter, right? He mentioned Dinwiddie and JaVale McGee are going to be starting. But does the starting lineup matter? We'll talk about that. And then we'll get into some Summer League stuff. Jaden Hardy, AJ Lawson. What do they look like in game 2? We'll talk about all that later. Let's start with this. According to Mark Stein, it doesn't look like there's going to be a sign and trade for Jalen Brunson. So the only thing we were kind of expecting from that or anticipating was would the Mavericks have like a $12 million, was it like $14 million trade exception that they would have? I mean, it's nice to have that, I guess, at a certain point, but the Mavericks are so in the luxury tax that we wouldn't think that they would use it unless something really, really good came up. But it doesn't look like that's going to happen at this point. It could still happen. Brunson still has not been officially signed, which is kind of wild to me that it's been this long. They're working on something. They still also haven't officially finalized the Nerlens Noel, Alec Burks trade with the Pistons that has to be finalized before they can sign Jalen Brunson into their cap space. So there's all kinds of weird stuff with that, but we're still monitoring that. But do the Mavericks have any other moves besides that? Right? Let's push that aside because we talked about that so much.
Please, I just want that whole situation to be done. But now we're gonna have to, I'm so tired of it because then they're gonna have the presser.
My son's doing well.
They're gonna have the presser, their intro presser, all for Brunson. Then he's gonna have all these quotes, and we're gonna have to talk about all the quotes again. But anyway,
I don't think so, unless he says something incendiary. But are there any moves left for the Mavericks? You brought up the Utah Jazz and said that there's some interesting paths for some trades for the Mavericks with the Jazz.
Obviously, there's other teams out there. It could be, just waiting to make moves too. Like we've been saying it. Gosh, it feels like 2 weeks now. We're all just waiting for the KD stuff to fall and see what happens. See how many teams are waiting. There's teams like John Collins in Atlanta. It's like, is he ever going to get traded? Like even separately, it just feels like all the other teams are just waiting to do any type of even other deals, not just deals in the, potential KD trade. But I mean, all eyes are on Utah outside of the KD stuff in the sense of they have all these vets. They traded Rudy, got 1 million draft picks. I don't care. I don't buy anything that they're possibly saying about we're trying to retool around Donovan Mitchell. I think it's the most fluff bullcrap stuff I've ever heard in my life. And so I'm expecting them to trade him at some point. So why do they have all these vets? And for a team that was in win now mode last year, now they have these vets that I think can help playoff teams. So they have 5 guys that I think could be on the move. Malik Beasley, they could possibly keep, but I'm just going to throw these 5 names out there. Let's rank them in order about which one that you would prefer on Dallas.
Okay.
Mike Conley, Jordan Clarkson, Bojan Bogdanovic, Pat Beverly, Malik Beasley. So these 5 guys, rank them in order of ones you would prefer on Dallas. And then after that, we'll do a realistic. Because I think in the right scenario, right trade package, I think all 5 of these guys could be had. And I think all 5 are decently realistic for Dallas.
And they all kind of make sense in a certain way, right? Like,
yeah,
I think the lowest on the totem pole for me would be maybe Clarkson and Beasley, because like we like the meme, we have Clarkson and Beasley at home, and it's Tim Hardaway Jr. It's like, we already kind of have that.
Tim
guy.
Because Tim was our free agent signing, and we already have the. No, I mean, you view him like a free agent because we didn't have him last year. That's why I'm just trying to say that.
Explain yourself.
So I get your point with Clarkson and Beasley.
I think they would be good players, but the Mavericks already have a guy like that. Conley is interesting. I think Conley in a role like that he would play on the Mavericks, like that Dragic type role that we've been talking about, would be so much better for him. But does he want to take that at this point in his career? He's just like an all-star.
What else has he got?
Very recently, but yeah, does he have anything else? He'd be interesting. I think number 1 is probably Bojan to me.
Okay.
Just can't get enough of those shooters, the wing. He can actually play some defense a little.
I'm with you on that.
Not on Luka, but on everyone else. He can play defense a little bit.
Realistic trade targets, he's number 1 for me right now. Expiring contract, $19 million a year. Yeah. He's in it, I think he's 33, could be wrong on that, maybe 34. Can create a little bit, can run and pick and roll a little bit. So we've talked about having a third ball handler or some or creator a little bit that if it's just Dinwiddie and Luka, he at least gives you an element off the bench. I think a little bit more than Tim, that you can run and pick and roll, let him pass the ball, play make a little bit. I would love Bojan's number 1 on this. It gets very difficult for me when it's number 2.
And this is not like who's the best player. It's who do you think is the best fit, basically. The best fit, best thing. Because I think the best player on this is Beasley the best player on this at this point? But I think his fit is the lowest. These players are all kind of close, actually. They just bring so much different skill sets. But I think my number 2 would be Beverly over Conley.
Oh, that's kind of spicy.
I think he's got more left in the tank. I think that his defense, could bring something that the Mavericks don't have right now. They still don't have a guy. They just still don't have anybody to guard guards besides like Frank and Reggie and Dorian. It's like those 3 guys, and they have things elsewhere to do. But yeah, I think it would be Beverly next.
Do you think Bill Duffy, same agent Luka, same agent as Pat Beverly, you think Bill Duffy is calling up Nico and saying, "Hey, I know you've liked Dwight for a while, but I think y'all need Pat Beverly more than Dwight. Can we do an even swap? Utah has no center right now. They need a vet. They'd like a vet to like be there for, Kessler, all the stuff, and he would be a good stopgap for Utah, and y'all could get Beverly to come off the bench. Just a straight up 1-for-1 trade. Both of them expiring contracts too. Yeah,
I don't know if they do a 1-for-1. I think Utah's in the asset accumulation, and they tried to OKC you and like try to squeeze any kind of asset they could out of you, and like.
Okay, take a second.
How many seconds do they have left?
Okay, let me ask you this: when it comes to like Mike Conley, let's say they'd prefer Conley over Beverly. Let's say they, for whatever reason. How much do you have to add to a Bertans, Josh Green package. Is it 2 seconds for Mike Conley? Because Mike Conley's due over 20 million this year. He has no option or anything. Like it's another guaranteed 24.3 million dollars for next season, not this upcoming season. 22.6 this coming season, 24.3 that next. If you do Bertans and Josh Green, do you have to throw in a second or a couple seconds to get Conley?
I think so, because Conley's second year there's some non-guaranteed stuff in that, and Bertans goes out a year longer than that, correct?
Yes. Yeah.
So Bertans a year long. Yeah, I think you would have to just for the sake of that Bertans contract, because it's not a good one at this point.
So if you're Utah, you're like, hey, we're trading a 30-something-year-old Conley who we think is cooked to Dallas. We'll take on the extra year.
I don't know if they would say it to you like that. Like,
they
hey
would
guys,
say that.
Would you guys want to take Conley? We think he's cooked, but we'll just trade you him for.
Y'all might not. So, and in return for them, it's more about taking the swing on Josh Green for probably a blow it up Utah team and getting a second or two out of it. And if you're Dallas, you add Mike Conley to the bench unit as like your third guard role, everything you're envisioning for Dragic, even though Dragic is a better player than Conley right now. I don't know. I mean, that's just something. If it's him or Beverly, you kind of see the role off the bench. I agree with you when it comes to like Clarkson would be a great bucket getter, but I think I'm in the camp of, unless it's Tim going out, and then, you're looking like a bigger package. If it's like Tim and Dwight together, and now you're piecing two of these Utah guys together to come back to Dallas.
Yeah.
I could see, potentially something like that.
Yeah, it's just interesting. Coming up, let's get into it. Let's talk about these guys a little bit more, because there's 5 guys from Utah that kind of makes sense. Let's talk about some other deals potentially, and then we'll get into the starting lineup. Doesn't matter who starts for the Mavericks. JaVale, Spencer Dinwiddie are going to start. Doesn't matter. We'll talk about that coming up. Before we do, let me tell you about BetOnline. With the BetOnline has so many options and lines and odds. The championship odds have changed. Oh, man. The Phoenix Suns were the number 1 team. They were plus 320 or like plus 400? They're now plus 650. The Celtics are now plus 600. I guess the Danilo Gallinari thing really moved the needle for them, I guess. The Bucks
I did like their offseason, though.
Their offseason has been good. They're plus 625 for the Bucks. The Warriors are plus 650, and the Suns are plus 650, and then the Clippers are plus 700. That whole group right there is so close. Celtics, Bucks, Warriors, Suns, Clippers are all just real tightly bunched in there. The next team is the Lakers plus 1,000. Don't worry about that. Miami Heat plus 1,200 are the next real team on that list. And that's interesting that they're that far behind the rest of that group.
Are there odds for the Bachelorette? Starts tonight.
Are there odds for the Bachelorette? I don't see it. Go check it out. It's BetOnline. It's where the game starts. All right, Isaac Harris, we've been talking about some moves the Mavericks may have left. And these 5 guys from Utah that kind of make sense for the Mavericks. If they are going to retool, if they do trade Donovan Mitchell for a package of whatever, then Mike Conley, Jordan Clarkson, Bojan Bogdanovic, Patrick Beverly, Malik Beasley, all these guys make a lot of sense for the Mavericks. Like, I wouldn't be mad about any of them, honestly. Like, if the Mavericks could make a move for any of them, I think they all fit in some way. You always need somebody that can get buckets. Both Beasley and Clarkson can go off for 30 on any given night. The Mavericks still do need that. And so even though I put those guys at the bottom of the list, if I were to rank these guys, they're not bad options. But we've talked about Conley a little bit, talked about a Beverly type trade, Patrick Beverly on the Mavericks. Finally, it would happen like 3 years later.
Okay, what if Dallas says, hey, we want to get 2 of these guys for our bench? And let's say they say, hey, we definitely want to try to get Bogdanovic, and then we want one of the point guards. To where if it's like Conley and Bogdanovic, you're looking at like $42 million. How do you get up to the 42 number if you're Dallas? Yeah. It's obviously looking at Tim, Dwight, and then would Dallas entertain throwing in Maxey or Reggie to get Bogdanovic and Beverly, or Bogdanovic and Mike Conley?
You said Tim, Dwight, and Reggie, or Maxey?
Yeah, or Tim, Dwight, and Maxey for Bogdanovic and like Mike Conley.
I think I would keep Reggie at that point. Maxey's an expiring.
I would too. I'm not saying what I would do. I'm just saying, would Dallas entertain it for the aspect of, all right, if we have our 5 starters, McGee, Christian Wood, Dorian, Luka, Dinwiddie, what do we need off the bench? Do we need more creation in Bogdanovic? Do we need another third ball handler? What do we need the most? And you could do it like if it's Bogdanovic and Beverly, because Beverly obviously makes like 10 million less than Conley. If it's just Bojan and Pat Beverly, then you could look at something around Dwight and Tim Hardaway and say, all right, would you rather have Tim or would you rather have Bojan? Would you rather have Beverly or Dwight? Would Dallas have to add something into that because Bojan and Beverly are both expiring? Tim has, obviously 2 more years after this upcoming season.
And maybe the Jazz look at team control a little bit better than other teams because they're not going to get free agents, especially the way that they're set up now. Like they're not going to get any more.
Especially with that rebrand.
They pissed away their only chance at getting free agents with that rebrand. But yeah, so maybe they look at that a little bit differently with Tim's contract. But like if they traded Bojan and Conley for like a package with Tim, all of a sudden they have Tim Beasley and Clarkson. Like what is that team doing at that point?
At least it's entertaining.
I guess you got 3 guys that can get you 30 on any night and 0 on any night, basically. like, you just hope that 2 of them are on any given night. So I don't think they'd be into that. I don't think they're into Tim. They'd be into Tim at all. And they're also kind of set up to where a lot of these guys are expiring. Bogdanovic is. Conley is non-guaranteed. I'm not sure exactly what that is. Clarkson is a player option for next season.
I would say if they're smart about it, they could probably hold on to Bogdanovic and maybe, probably not Pat Beverly. And like how many could you get a first from one of these like playoff teams once you get into the season?
Yeah.
And they're viewed as like the final piece, a Bogdanovic, a Clarkson or something like that. You could probably get a first from somebody. That
makes sense. So those are some interesting options. I think those 5 names could be interesting to see if the Jazz do decide to blow it up and trade away Donovan Mitchell. It sounds like they listened to an offer from the Miami Heat about him, and so we'll see if that turns out to be anything. But let's talk about the starting lineup because Jason Kidd made a comment. We talked about it in our summer league episode the other day. But Jason Kidd said the Mavericks, we're getting bigger. Brought in JaVale McGee. He's going to be a starter for us, and then we see Spencer Dinwiddie as a starter for us. All of a sudden, like Dinwiddie is the smallest guy in the starting lineup for the Mavericks. He's 6'6". The Mavericks go 6'6", 2 6'7" guys in Luka and Dorian, and then they're gonna start Christian Wood, who's 6'10", and JaVale, who's 7 foot. Like they have this huge lineup that they're starting.
Jaden Hardy at like 6'4" is the smallest dude.
I know,
right?
yeah. Whether you think Hardy is 6'4" or 6'5", he's the shortest guy on the team. It's just pretty wild that he is the smallest guy. What do you think about this starting lineup, potential starting lineup? And does it matter? People are freaking out like, oh, you got to start Reggie. Even last year I was doing the whole like,
I have to apologize that you felt that he should have played more.
About that drop is about Reggie Bullock, and that I was asking that he needs to play more minutes and play starters minutes and all that. Does this starting lineup, do you think, matter in the way that it's set up or going to be set up?
I don't give a crap about who starts. I care about the minute distribution.
Yeah.
Because if you're telling me McGee gets 15 to 18 minutes and Reggie's going to get a little over 30 minutes, and like that's it, like, okay, who cares if they start or they come off the bench? So it's a matter. It matters who closes. It matters who plays the most. And I don't think that McGee is going to start and average 30 and Reggie's going to go back down to like 15 a night. I would have a big issue with that. But like, look at I was looking more at this frontline stuff after obviously the Gobert trade. Look at the other guys across the league, or let's just look at the Western Conference and tell me who like Christian Wood can't guard as a 4. Like you look at the 4, like Warriors, Lakers, Timberwolves, Memphis. Like Memphis started Adams and Jaren Jackson last year. Obviously, they're going to, Timberwolves going to have Rudy and Cat. You look at the Lakers, they're going to start another big, Thomas Bryant or whoever with Anthony Davis.
Yeah.
Then you look at like the Warriors, Draymond and Looney. And you just keep on going down the line. Like, Valanciunas and Zion, DeAndre Ayton, Jay Crowder, like Jokic, Aaron Gordon, Zubats, Covington. Like, who on this list are you saying Christian Wood can't guard at the 4 as far as like on the perimeter? Like you may be looking at if like Kawhi's considered the 4 and not Covington. Yeah. Like, all right, Christian Wood can't guard him. But like, I'm fine with Christian Wood guarding Jay Crowder. Like I'm fine with Christian Wood guarding Aaron Gordon.
It's just gonna be weird when you get to the like you said, the Anthony Davises. If they're gonna start a center, a spot center basically, like the Mavericks are going to. Can he guard an Anthony Davis type? Can he guard a Jaren Jackson Jr.? What were the other fours that you mentioned that were like, I mean, all-star? There's some all-star level fours in that one. Like Aaron Gordon. I don't know if I'm too worried about that one, but
I'm not worried at all about that. I'm like, obviously Anthony Davis, Karl Anthony Towns.
Towns is a tough one.
How is that? But
at least he has length on that guy, right? Like I'd rather have him guard him than, try to throw like Dinwiddie on him, or something else when the other wings are busy. But
like you could put him on Gobert. It's like Gobert's just gonna hit Jerry West. So sure. But like Jaren Jackson, Jeremy Grant might give him a little trouble. I mean, he can get buckets a little bit. I don't care as much about the starting front line. It is a zag for them, obviously, because it's like, all right, we want to, but I don't think they're not going to play small. I don't think they're not going to put Christian Wood at the 5 and Dorian's at the 4 type thing. Like we're going to see that a ton. So who gives a crap if McGee's going to get 15 to 18 minutes as a starting big and he's going to catch a bunch of lobs? He's just the upgrade over Dwight. Like that's just how I'm viewing it. Right now, I don't see Dwight getting a ton of minutes because I think Christian Wood's going to be a lot of the backup 5. Maxi's still going to play a lot.
Yep.
And McGee's just the bigger version, better rebounding, better defensive version of Dwight Powell. And that it's just really simple.
Well, let's talk about the rotation, because I think when we say does starting matter, I think the rotation plays a lot. There's a big factor. Hold on. I think
start over.
I almost got it.
My first podcast.
I'm right there. Let's talk about the rotation, because I think the rotation factor plays a big factor into how we view the start. I didn't get it.
Let me get this. I got this right. Let's talk about the rotation coming up after the break. Who plays in the second unit? Because I think it's going to factor into how far Dallas can go.
You didn't want to talk about that. But before we do, let me tell you about rockauto.com. With the ever increasing number of makes and models of cars, it's impossible for your local chain auto parts store to get all the prices that you need. You don't need all those different things that they have at their store, but you need the stuff that you need, and rockauto.com has that. They have every single part for your car, truck, whatever you want. Go check it out, rockauto.com. See all the parts available for your car or truck. You just search by year, make, model, and you can do it all for the comfort of your own home. They can send it to your house. If you're a person that can work on their car in this blazing heat we have in Dallas, you can go ahead and do that and not have to sit outside and wait for some dealership to get the part for you and all that. So go check it out, rockauto.com. See all the parts available for your car or truck. Then write Locked On in their How Did You Hear About Us box. They know that we sent you. It's amazing selection, reliably low prices, all the parts your car will ever need. It's rockauto.com. All right, Isaac Harris, as both of us so beautifully put before that break, before we so aptly decided to explain why the rotation factors in. This is what's going to happen, I think, with the Mavericks. And this is why I don't think the starting lineup matters as much as people may think. So the starting lineup, as Jason Kidd said, is going to be Luka with Dinwiddie in the backcourt, Dorian Finney-Smith on the wing, Christian Wood, and JaVale McGee as the bigs that start, right? Christian Wood can space the floor, so that's good. Dorian can space the floor. Spencer Dinwiddie hopefully repeats his 40% three-point shooting from the regular season in the playoffs and spaces the floor. Luka and JaVale McGee running pick and rolls. Luka and Christian Wood running pick and pops and pick and rolls. And then Luka plays the whole first quarter. Spencer Dinwiddie checks out. Reggie Bullock checks in.
We're doing like minute breakdowns
Reggie
here.
Bullock checks in for him. Maxey checks in for JaVale. And then all of a sudden you have your small lineup that spaces the floor, right? And then eventually, like, Tim comes in for Dorian, I guess, and like then all of a sudden, boom, you have a ton of shooting. You have a bunch of perimeter defense with Dorian and Reggie. Like you have that small lineup like right away. Like they can go to that as quick as they want, and that's how it's just going to play. But what they want to do is at the beginning of games, if you're looking at this lineup, they want to be big, right? They want to have the size of a big team, and they're going to with Dinwiddie at 6'6".
Now, why would they do
Luka and Dorian at 6'7". Christian Wood on the perimeter, 6'10", and then they also want to have the pick and roll threat, because what does Dallas do at the beginning of every game? It's like Luka and Dwight just running these pick and rolls all the time. Luka and JaVale are going to be able to run that better, I think. And then they get into their other options. Okay, well, if this pick and roll thing isn't working, maybe they take JaVale out a little bit early And then they can go to the Christian Wood pick and roll, pick and pop stuff. Or then they can go to the Luka, runs around and Tim Hardaway Jr. runs around screens, and then they can run stuff like that. Like there's going to have options, but what they're going to start with is this big lineup where they try to run pick and roll with Luka, with shooter space in the floor.
Yeah, I think it's going to be one. It's going to be matchup dependent. JaVale's going to get the bigger bodies, whoever you're going up against. And two, the only thing I'm confident about right now is I think the first sub, depending on the matchup, obviously, I think the first sub most nights will be JaVale for Reggie, assuming Dorian is the fifth guy. Like no one's confirmed that Dorian's going to be the fifth guy in the starting lineup, but
he will be.
It's like we're just assuming that is, but it's like I think that's the only thing I'm confident about. Outside of that, I don't know. Like I don't know who's going to be the backup point guard. I don't know how many minutes I don't picture Dwight getting a ton of like minutes, because I think it's going to be Christian Wood and Maxey as that like kind of backup five. But I mean, Dwight could still play a little bit. And yeah, what's Josh Green's role in this team? I have no clue. Tim's going to, come off the bench pretty quick, him and Reggie.
Yeah, and Tim started 20 games last year out of the 40 that he played. He started 30 games out of the 70 that he played the year before that. I mean, he started a bunch of games for this team over the last couple of years too. And they got a little bit of depth, which is nice. You wish that they had a little more in some places, but the rotation's gonna be fine. They have a bunch of options. They have a bunch of lineup options that they can go to, which is awesome. And so that's why I don't think the starting lineup matters. And the starting lineup will change. This starting lineup will not be the starting lineup at the end of the year. I can almost guarantee you that, because it just changes. Either guys get traded, or a guy gets hurt, or it doesn't work out. What if JaVale McGee is just like not a good player anymore? I don't know. Like he's 34. He hit a huge wall.
Nah, he's good. I'm excited for him.
He hit a huge wall. I'm just saying hypothetically. Like what if all of a sudden that doesn't work? And they're like, okay, we have to change things. But yeah.
And I don't think they're done.
Well, let's hope so. Let's hope so.
Not to go back to it. I just don't think they're done. I don't think they go into the season with the exact roster they have right now. I could be wrong, but I'm still holding out hope.
Or Mark Cuban liked all those tweets for nothing, Isaac. Let's end on this, because I do want to talk about Summer League a little bit. Got 2 games coming up back to back here. Another look at Jaden Hardy. Let's just start with him really quick. What do you expect from him in these next 2 games? What are you looking for and trying to see with him in these next 2 games?
I want the same stuff I saw in the first game. I mean, that was a lot of fun. And, highlights aside that, was going around on Twitter, those are a blast. But like I said in that post-game pod, go listen to it. It was an extra weekend pod. If you listen to this on Monday, you have 2 in your inboxes, if we want to call it that. But it was the decision-making. That's what impressed me the most, that it was his discipline when it comes to like making a decision, the decision to drive early on instead of chucking up threes and off balance shots and all that stuff. Like I was really impressed by that. So I just want to see more of that, and it should be, more comfortable out there system. I want to see what he looks like playing more off the ball. I want to see a little bit more on the ball stuff just to see what he's capable of. But playing with Payola. I said that right?
Payola. It's pie. I kept saying pay like payola, but it's Payola. Payola. Yeah, I want to see those things too. I think the 3 things they asked him to do were to get to the rim, to like play make and pass, and to play defense. And I think that you just want to see those 3 things again. Like, can you replicate that? Can you do those things again? And then maybe they'll give him a quarter or something to cook and just get your own shot and do the fun mid-range stuff that you do and all that kind of stuff. I'd love to see those decisions better. And then start and finish. I think those are things that, like, the only things that he could do better, I think, in another Summer League game is start the game better, because his start was really rough. Just seemed like a lot of nerves. And then his end of the game and overtime, and then in the end of that regulation, the first Summer League game was not very good. And so I think improving on those areas, taking ownership of the team, I think a little bit more in those end moments, but you don't know what the coach was asking. And now it's a different coach, because Greg St. Jean's stepping aside and some other Mavs assistant coach are stepping in. So it may be a different thing that they asked Jaden Hardy to do. We'll talk about that probably after game 1. I
want to see about Lawson. I want to see if Lawson continues, his streak. Had a great game the other day. It was basically the Lawson and Hardy show. Yeah. Is there another player that steps up in this next game? Like you said, it's a double header. So we're about to get 3 Mavs games in 4 days. Okay. Monday, Tuesday, and then Thursday. So you know where to listen to all your post-game pods here at Locked On Mavs.
With AJ Lawson, I think he has a chance if he could follow up this game 1 performance, 28 points, hit 6 threes, looks pretty good. Looks, he's one of the most athletic players in the draft too last year. I think he can be gunning for a 2-way spot or even like the last roster spot. I mean, the skills that he showed, it's like, who wouldn't want a player that is like that? What do you need to see from him in another game?
Would fans freak out like they did about Tyler Dorsey or?
Well, at least AJ Lawson has a better than like 6'4" wingspan. So.
No, I think for him is that other 2-way spot, and Moses Wright had it last year, and let's see can he continue to outplay Moses Wright? And, Moses Wright basically started at the center spot in this past game.
Yeah,
he had like three or four blocks, and he did a great job protecting the rim. But I'm all here for 2-way spots being wings. So if they went into the season with Tyler Dorsey and AJ Lawson, sign me up. I like it.
Yeah, I'm down for that. I ink that right now. But we'll see what happens in games 2 and 3. If he comes out and AJ Lawson doesn't look like, it just was a really good hot shooting night for him in game 1, then I think that's something. But
it's also crazy too to think about the 2-way spots and just second round picks, how wild it is. Like I saw the Knicks signed Trevor, Keels, which we talked about before the draft stuff, to a 2-way deal. And it's like the difference between some of these guys in the same like range of the second round getting, Hardy just got a 3-year deal. Some other second round pick the other day got a 4-year deal. It's like 4 years, $8 million. It's like, holy crap. But then some of these other second round picks are getting 2-way deals. It's just wild how that is. It doesn't, nobody cares about that too much, but
we're getting cut.
Wow. Yeah. It's just crazy how that's a shift that's happened over the past few years of second round picks, even in like early 40s getting now they're 2-way contracts and not like legit deals.
I think part of it is just older guys hanging on longer too, right? Like those roster spots are just harder and harder to get because guys are just staying in the league for so long. Freaking LeBron and Chris Paul are still gobbling up 35 minutes a night or 30 minutes a night,
I mean, the Heat's doing, free agent pitches to Haslam. So.
Yeah, you don't want to talk about that. The Mavs had like 4 ceremonial roster spots last year.
I mean, if they want to start calling some people up for a spot, Josh Howard.
Tony Romo's not doing anything, guys. Can we get Tony Romo back in a Mavs jersey? There you go. Let us know in the comment section. What do you think about the starting lineup? What do you think is next for the Mavericks Summer League? We'll talk about that tomorrow. Guys, thanks so much for listening to Locked On Mavs, making us your first listen. Make your second listen Locked On NBA. Jackson Gatlin has been hearing some stuff in Summer League. He's got you on Locked On NBA today, so go check it out at Locked On NBA. He's got great stuff. I think Matt Moore's on there. Rylan, our friend from Locked On Thunder. Go check it out. Thanks so much for listening to Locked On Mavs.
Nope.
Boom!